Hi, this is Rob Anspach, and I'm with a young star in the marketing field named Devani Alderson, who is the CEO of a company called Marketing for Traffic. So welcome, and did I pronounce your name right?
You got it, Devani Alderson. Thanks so much.
Oh
For being-
no.
And
You know, this is the joy of Google Hangouts, and I've come across this with many interviews. Is sometimes it freezes up. So if this interview freezes up at all, we're just going to keep on going because it's technology and you just roll with it. Now, Devani, how did you get started, in the marketing field? Because it's just, there's a lot of marketers out there. I mean, where did you learn, what you know to teach others?
I was self-educated, you could say. I was homeschooled, and both my parents are entrepreneurs running their various companies. And I needed a way to earn money. And first, let me back up a little bit. I had this romanticized notion of being a fiction writer and traveling the world, to Paris and all these wonderful places and just, writing my heart out. And apparently in the real world, you do need to develop skills and, income and earn. I I was sort of at to make income doing that, go to school and learn skills. But I was definitely interested in the sort of entrepreneurial, I guess, business, you could say, in sort of how to dictate your own life. It was a new concept to me, even though I'd grown up with parents doing it. So I wanted to learn more about what that was like. And one thing led to the next. So that's sort of the short story.
And I find that, well, even with me, I went to college for a couple of years. I didn't feel that it was right for me. I was spending all this money for things that I already knew, or, for things that I knew I could learn on my own. And for the
Yeah.
last, 2 decades, I've self-educated myself, on marketing, on, all the different aspects of running a business. And sometimes you learn more in the real world from others who have come before you than you do, in a institutionalized setting. Um,
Absolutely. That's really what I've found has worked, just constantly keeping my eyes open to, who's doing what I want to be doing and how can I learn from that, whether it's somebody online or somebody, a local business owner, who can I learn from that's already achieved what I want to achieve. And I think that's sort of the hallmark of, being a self-educated person.
you go back to the your notion of being a writer, and I think that, you know for me, I was an entrepreneur before I became a writer. And the because now you have all these experiences that you can share. And
Yeah.
but being a writer first without having the experiences makes it harder for you to write, because sometimes you don't know what to write about. You, like you said, you romance, of the situation, and you dream about places. But I think for most entrepreneurs out there, they have to have that experience before they can share with others, how to improve.
Yeah.
You know, how
Yeah.
have,
It's
go ahead.
me so many skills and connected me to so many amazing people that I would that it's helped my writing, and it's opened doors to, being a nonfiction writer, which I never thought I would ever do. I'd like, what do I know, so it's definitely opened a lot of doors, like you were saying, and experiences.
Now, what has your parents helped you bring into your business?
Oh yeah, I credit a lot to my parents because they're definitely both entrepreneurs. While they both went to college when they were younger, they're also very much principles of, go figure it out. You can figure it out. You know that if you ask the right questions, use the right technologies, connect with the right people, you will be able to into doing. And I know when I was younger, I was definitely sort of resistant to the idea of entrepreneurship. And at the time, I didn't know that it was called entrepreneurship, but being your own person, doing to do things, I was definitely resistant to it. And it was probably just a normal kid thing. Your parents are doing this and you just want to do the exact opposite. But I've seen through following through with my own both. And so that's definitely motivated me. I know they mentor me a lot. My mom's a really great writer and editor, and so is my dad, actually. And he actually just published his first full-length novel. And things like that they do just constantly inspire me to push for my best. So they're definitely huge motivations.
Now, how do you take that inspiration and the motivation that they give you to, instill in others through your social media posts or, maybe some of the coaching that you do for others?
Yeah, so I really look at it as it's not necessarily when I do posts or make posts or write, I come from this place of, I'm the student and I'm learning too. And maybe what I learn can help somebody else, So I don't really want to be, the teacher, sharing all this stuff, but it's also about, for me, it's just about sharing, this is what I'm doing, this is what I struggle with, and, maybe something I've learned can help somebody else as well. And so just passing on that knowledge as I learn it.
What do you think the biggest setback right now is with social media?
For me, or from what I've noticed, a big setback is a lot of people still view it as and use it as a sort of a chatty channel instead of, and I know in the Facebook to connect at a much deeper level with each other. But at the same time, I still feel like there's a lot of sort of superficial, popularity type thing going on, which is fine. I think we have to go to that stage to break out into the next stage. But something I would love to create and see more of on social media is just digging to that next layer of substance, what help people and share that with others.
And I think substance is very important as it builds trust with others. They see you
Absolutely.
as more human and not up on a pedestal somewhere.
Yeah, and just, being, I think it's funny because um, social media, while be a lot of negative things you can say about it, like cyberbullying and all that type of stuff that's out there, and the superficiality, and but at the same time allowed us to connect the world. You're in Connecticut, right? Or
I'm in
you're up
Pennsylvania.
north, Pennsylvania. And
Mhm.
so, I mean, you and I, we might never have known about each other, had it not been for social media. So I think it's a beautiful allow us to connect, and I love staying focused on those positive aspects of it and just bringing that to light.
Now, what are some of the downfalls that you see with social media?
Um, I think there's a lot of people who have just used it more as they've used it more as a place to be superficial rather than to establish a real connection with somebody or with multiple people. And I know that with business, especially, we sort of get a little bit caught up and confused in how do we use social media to generate business. And then we forget that it's really, at its core, a platform to connect people. So, like the Gary storytelling with social media, and I think that that's sort of something that everybody is starting to learn more about, how to really create story in a business, to build, like you talk about a lot, to build the trust and the relatability, because the story brings an emotional aspect, and people tend to buy, like, based on their emotion about something.
Your story of your parents, being an inspiration to you, about writing books, about being entrepreneurs, that to me right there tells me a lot about you, because you're getting that instruction from your parents, who still love you, who are still together, who still push you to do stuff and encourage you to do things, and then there's your own unique story of you starting a business, or you bucking the trend of maybe not going to college, which is what your parents did, to start something different, you know and that right there is just another way to connect with somebody. you know
Definitely.
I know that we met on Facebook, but is there other channels that you like besides Facebook that might get a different response?
I started out on Facebook, and I love it. I feel like it's, especially, I don't know, you probably remember back when Facebook had that on posting. When they removed that, it was like the golden platform to me. But so I'm really liking the publishing um, aspect on LinkedIn. I've gotten a lot of cool traction there. It's not, I haven't cultivated my presence on LinkedIn as much, and I know you're a big fan of it, and I just haven't really been as drawn to it. But I really like that, the ability to publish a story on LinkedIn and then hear opinions from peers and other professionals. That's really cool, because it makes you, I love 40 character limit, because it forces you to get really concise about what you're saying. And that has actually really helped me cut back on all the fluff in my writing. And so it's a great tool. I feel like if you really want, limits your characters, because you'll find a lot of words you don't need to be using.
And that it's kind of what I teach businesses when I do search engine optimization, because you're limited to characters, kind of like Twitter, and when you can cut out some of the fluffery, the words that you really don't need, you're I think not necessarily the language is going to be different, but the meaning is going to be different. The tonality is going to be different. So people are going to say, "Oh, okay." But on the flip side of that is texting. I can't stand texting, because you're limited to smiley face or emoticons, or all these different. And to me, it's I would rather express, or pick up the phone and just say, "Hey, what's going on?" than try to text somebody.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's funny, we're living in an, and I was talking to a friend who has a group of young entrepreneurs are using, and we're not up on that lingo anymore. And and there was I don't know if you saw it, but there was a BuzzFeed video where they were asking 13-year-olds, are you on Facebook? And they're just, I just like, and it might be the writer in me, but I definitely do like the channels where you can fully express yourself in so many different ways, so many other words besides, LOL. It's become just, I guess, for me, learning. How can I learn new words? How can I become better and more articulate in how I speak and talk and put myself out there?
A lot of times what I find is it's not necessarily the big words that we know. It's how we communicate. It's how we converse. It's just having a conversation. And it brings people back to that whole trust issue. When you can just have a conversation with somebody and it sounds like a conversation, people are like, huh, yeah, I kind of get that guy. I really know what he's saying. But when you're talking above somebody and using words that they have no idea what you're talking about, there's,
Yeah.
you kind of feel like you're being sold something instead of being, you know, um, you know, talked to.
And that, I think, you were talking earlier, what are the positives that you're seeing in social media? And I think that's one of them. It's become a very humanizing platform, and it's even helped how people email market. My new learning curve right now is hacking, email marketing. And so I really want to get good at, copywriting and all the skills so using, the humanization skill set that I've learned from doing social media marketing and how you can translate that into email platform. I think it'll be such a beautiful thing because you're seeing it come full circle. And a lot of the really salesy emails that you see that you just sort of feel like, you feel that you're being spoken down to, that style is really changing. And I do hope to see that we can all talk as friends and learn from each other as peers and friends and I can still know more than the next person, and there will be somebody else who knows more than me.
Can I lose you?
Oh,
That's that, we're just going to roll with it.
yeah.
What do you think of Snapchat? Some people are loving it. Some people hate it. I still haven't really fully, to me, it's just, I don't know. You got 6 seconds, 10 seconds to look at a message. To me, I just don't see that being a giant trust building social platform.
Um, I don't know it enough to have a complete, opinion based, but it's never really drawn me in. It seems like what I am more is the Meerkat platform, and I haven't used it yet, or the Periscope type platforms where you can live broadcast to your social channel. Did I lose you?
No, you're still there.
Okay. So yeah, I don't think I'm not personally drawn to Snapchat. It's not a very inclusive site, and I'm all about, being inclusive, anybody allowed to be there. I don't like it so much. Um, I would like to explore the Periscope type apps though that allow you to broadcast to social media, because I think that's really cool.
A lot of people are talking about Meerkat and Periscope, and I think there's also a concern, with those types of live streaming, because now you're dealing with, privacy and all these other issues, and when you go to a concert, let's say, a rock concert, and you're taking your camera out and you're broadcasting, now it's on Periscope and people are seeing a live presentation. And, years ago, they said, well, you can't take video recordings, into our concerts. You can't take them into the movies. Well, now you can actually, you know, go into a movie theater and Periscope the movie, live stream it. And, I think there is going to be some, ramifications to some of this new technology coming out.
Absolutely. And that's, that could be a whole privacy and all of that. I know when you live stream things like video or live experience, the viewers are still never going to get the full environmental, impact of, the setting and all that. So I don't think that aspect will take away too much. In terms of to that, I think with all the trending news on by big companies, by government and all that, I think it's definitely in front of people's minds. I think my main thought on that is I personally don't have anything to hide. And while I don't necessarily want somebody just randomly, hacking into my software, at the same time, so it's understandable that everything in general is becoming more transparent, even if we don't necessarily, even if it doesn't seem right. I don't know. I guess I don't like to live in the paranoia of that, even though, while acknowledging that it's still, some things still are crossing boundaries. So that's a whole big topic, isn't it?
How do you deal with, like the other day, I had a person who wanted to get to know me on Facebook. And then I went to their profile and discovered that they were fake. Everything about them was fake. And they were using, someone else's photo. When someone approaches you to be your friend, do you check them out first?
Absolutely. I do. If we have a lot of mutual friends, like maybe I have a limit of, like, if we have about 10 mutual friends, then I won't do too much looking in, because I'm gonna assume you're legit, especially if the mutual friends are people that I regularly see, because that to me is almost like an endorsement. If these people that I admire and all that are connected to this person, I'm just gonna give them the benefit of the doubt until I'm proven wrong. Don't seem to right off have a lot in common, then I'll definitely dig around. And I like to send messages before connecting to people personally when I send requests, just so they know, I'd like to connect with you because I know. I tend to try and expect the best of people, but that's not always the case.
With people in general, especially on Facebook, we can now join these groups, and kind of feel part of a connection to more people like us. Where have you gotten most of your, I'm not going to say inspiration, but maybe some of your learning, some of the overcoming of the questions that you might have? I mean, were they from a Facebook group? Were they from outside of social media?
I think for me, I really try one source be, all the knowledge. So I've done courses, I've joined Facebook groups, and I've learned a ton from a lot of the ones I regular and frequent. They're because I find that a lot of my peers know so much more and have certain skill sets. And the beautiful thing about social media groups that I love is that it's a beautiful exchange of I will ask questions and help somebody else with their problems. And I think it's a, different seminars, different courses, webinars. So it's really been an all over education. And I just try to take what philosophy, how I see, things going, and also trying to be open-minded and not being locked into a certain way of being. I know we've all had our moments of, it has to be a certain way, and
uh, I, we froze up here a little bit, so, but that's okay. Where do you get most of your clients? Are they from social media? Are they from Facebook? I mean, where do they come from?
some of my first clients actually came from an event I went to back in 2000, Philly. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with it or not, but my first client came from there. And then I've had a few local clients, but then also a lot of it comes from word of mouth. So I'll work with one person and then they'll have, a business owner that they know. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs tend to know each other. And so if they find a source, they'll recommend. So that's been of, going to live events. As much as we all love social media, there's really nothing beats, meeting someone in person, because you really get the full effect of who someone is. And so that's always been, that's been a big source, but also definitely Facebook. I know I try to keep a presence there so people can reach out, and that's my favorite place for sure.
When I first started, a lot of my clients were carpet cleaners because I spent 20 years in that industry. And as I started progressing and people started to get to know me, now most of my clients are lawyers and doctors and authors and speakers. And, there was a gravitation out there. And, now I have all these people that, come and respect me for my knowledge that I know are way smarter than me, but because it's social media or search engine optimization, they need to know that and they need to learn. So,
Absolutely.
and I think that, with all entrepreneurs, they have kind of an evolution. They start out with a particular set of clients, and as they grow and learn and kind of figure out themselves where they need to go, how they need to feel about certain things and their beliefs and their aspects, they start to take on new clients and better clients, and they kind of simplify their lives a little bit better. And
I
I think with your parents' inspiration and motivation, you're going to go really far.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just learning all sorts of things, like from peers, because everyone has something to teach you. I know my mom's been rereading one of Richard Branson's books, and so she and I have been talking about it, and he is big on just seeing what he can learn from everybody he talks to. And I think that's such an important thing. No matter how old you are, no matter how, how skilled you are, no matter how great you are, there's always something you can learn from someone. And even to the point where you may not know until later on down the road that, XYZ lesson was important. And it's so important to keep seeking that.
What was, as you're I guess you're reading about, Richard Branson. Is there any other authors or motivators, as people would say, gurus that you kind of seek out to learn from?
Yeah, Brendan Burchard's Motivation Manifesto, and that's a really powerful book. Highly recommend that. It's dense and it makes for great discussion points, but it's such a the first chapter on fear, and it's really helped me sort of recenter and ground in myself. Just be authentic, be you. Don't be afraid, or don't use your fear to stop you. Use it to drive you and motivate you to be better. And so that's been really powerful for me. And I pretty much follow Gary Vaynerchuk on all the different platforms and have read all his books. And I'm about halfway through Kim Garst's new book. Is it Will the Real You Stand Up, or Will the Real You Please Stand Up? I think that's the full title. And that's actually a great book. I've been following Kim Garst a lot through her social media journey, and I've learned a lot from her. And so she's definitely a key person in the marketing world that has really influenced my learning. So those are just a couple. But yeah, really a lot of the top entrepreneurs. I love Pat.
How about mistakes? I mean, have you made a lot of mistakes in your social media business? I mean, I know early on I would take on clients I really didn't want because I knew I needed the money. And so I would get cocky and say, yeah, I can do that. And then I would put it up on social media and try to help them, and it would just backfire big time.
Yeah, I think that's my so a lot of my mistakes has just come from sort of carelessness. I know the term, I think, in the generation is like a quicker clicker, and I think a lot of young people just happen to have that particular trait until they learn to grow up and become more aware of what they do, but just sort of not thinking everything through completely, and then also being kind of arrogant because I know a little bit, so we should do it this way. So, and then also I think a lot of my mistakes of being open-minded enough about what I should do, and that can hurt your business, and especially when you're in the business of helping other businesses, you have to be very for another business. And so I know recently in one of the groups, we were having this discussion about I don't know what it was, but it was a social media discussion, and it was just like, I can repeat what I've constantly believed, or I can go out and test it for myself and see if it really works or doesn't work. Then I'll know that this is for me or this is not for me. So a lot of my mistakes have come from just my own inability or arrogance to not see or not be open.
And I think being open-minded to the needs of the clients is a big thing. But we also have to say, you know what, Mr. Jones, I respect your company, but what you're asking me to do is not going to work based on, the testing that I've done in the past with other clients. Have you experienced that where you've had to tell a client that in your experience that's not going to work?
Yes, I have. And sometimes they're open-minded enough to be like, okay, all right, so let's try something else, and we come up with a different strategy. And other times you just have to let it go. You just have to say, all right, I know with one client I've had, it used to be very much I would express different opinions, and it's like I've tested this, and this, I know that this is not the right direction. It's like when that happens, you just have to really get back to, okay, what are the clients, how can doing this action lead to the goal or lead away from the goal? And sometimes sometimes they'll agree, and sometimes they won't. Just can't force it all the time.
How do you overcome price objections when someone says, you know what, that seems a little high, or, I can get the guy down the street to do it for half the price?
Yeah, so that's still something I struggle with a little bit, just because um I want to I have a history of being a people pleaser type person, and so that's definitely a big thing, and I've come a long way from not being that type of person, but I still struggle with, I feel rejected. But these days, it's like, you know, if you want to price hunt, there are plenty of other options. If price is a big deal for you, then there are definitely other options that you can take that are much cheaper. I mean, you can have your social media a couple hours on a Saturday, $10 a month or so, and have everything automated and sort of done for you. So it's sort of like you have to really own your value and know that you can this X amount.
I find that with social media, it's always constantly changing. And clients come to me and they'll say, you know what, I'm tired of learning this. I don't want to do it anymore. Can you take it over? Because we're just tired of constantly updating. We're trying to, we try to learn this, and then Facebook changes, and then we got to, and that's where I think we as social media marketers need to realize that, we're not in the social media business. We're in the people business. Yes,
Absolutely.
we have to constantly learn this new stuff, and be on top of it. But in the end, we have to communicate to our clients that, it's, I think I spend more time educating my clients on the changes that are coming than I do actually, sometimes creating the posts that go to these social media networks.
I think so. Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you there. There's a lot of educating that needs to be done, both for the client and I think what I'm beginning to learn is that a platform can change all at once, but the principles of nature don't change daily. They don't, the foundation, as long as you have a good foundation, you can really adapt very well to change. So the principles, being a good storyteller, being able to empathize, being change for a long time. And so as long as you know that, you know, I tell my clients a lot.
How do you feel about when clients say, I don't want to post daily. I only want to post, once a week or once a month. To me, they shouldn't even be on social media if they're going to do it that infrequently, but to try to convince them that they need to do it daily, how do you overcome that?
Luckily, a lot of my clients have sort of they've already sort of come from a place of understanding a lot of the marketing and trends. So a lot of my clientele sort of know that they need a, But so I haven't really had to deal with that too much at all. But a coaching, I have consulted some people who have, they've said, I just don't have time. I want to just do something weekly. And I just say, look, there are tools out there that you can schedule one post daily. It takes you an hour on a Facebook page has the ability to schedule 6 months in advance. You can schedule a week ahead of time. So, just informing clients that use technology to their advantage and don't get so stuck in the roadblocks, because yes, it can be frustrating, but it doesn't have to be.
No, it doesn't have to be. And then I think that's the problem, is that people have taken this technology that's supposed to make our lives easier, and they've complicated it to the point where they look at it as a fear, and they don't want to communicate, they don't want to share, they don't want to tell people a little bit about themselves. And then there's also the people who are so big on privacy. Well, if you're big on privacy, then don't have a Facebook at all, because it's all about
Right.
sharing to build trust. Now,
Right.
where do you see yourself going, in a couple of years? I mean, you have this great, the business right now, and I would believe that social media is just going to get better. And what I like is that Facebook recently cleaned up their act a little bit, at least on fan pages. They took down a lot of the fake profiles or the inactive pages, and made fan pages a little bit more engaging,
Yes.
But, here you are, you're tackling social media, you're helping people with their marketing. Where do you want to see yourself in a couple of years? I mean, do you want to be a better copywriter? Do you want to be more into the the social aspect, the live streaming, the email marketing?
Yeah, so in terms of sort of like the shorter long term, as in next 3 to 5 years, I would definitely love to learn more about the email marketing side and be email marketing, because I feel like if you can become sort of like a one spot stop for your clients, it's both better for them and and for you, because you get to sort of manage their whole circular channels. I know Brendan Burchard calls it circular virality. And so it's just sort of like, this, how does the SEO and the social and the email and the copywriting all just smooth so that we can offer that. And I think it'll be super helpful for business owners, because it's so much easier if you already have an established relationship with someone, if you can just keep sending them work, because they know your system, they know you, they know your voice. And so I'd really love to develop that. More longer term, I would love to have my company run. I can be free to pursue book writing. I still really enjoy book writing and photography, and I also really love just being parts of social media. Is the creativity involved in it, and creativity in creating a post, writing a post, getting a good visual for a post, the creative side as well.
Now, how do the audience, those people that are viewing this video, how do they get a hold of you?
My Facebook is, I have a marketing for traffic Facebook page. I'm like right in the middle. I want to have my new website design done by end. So it's going to be completely revamped into like this aggregate media site for all sorts of marketing content. So anyway, that's in the works. But Yeah, I'm on Facebook at Devani Anjali Alderson. I think if you type in Devani, I'm probably the first one that pops up. Um, and my profile is pretty public, so it'd be pretty easy to nail. And then on Twitter, I'm at Devani Anjali. That's Anjali. And yeah, and then obviously my website is marketing for traffic. And totally forgot that every time I say I'm going to have to tell people it's not the word for, it's the number for. But oh well, I still love the name.
This was a great interview, and I do want to thank you. That sometimes, for me, I've been doing this for so long that, I forget that, you know, you young superstars are coming into this field, and you have this kind of an ingrained knowledge, whether it be from your parents, whether it be from others, whether it be that you just grew up in this technology, that, I think that in the next couple of years, you know, you guys are just going to be the dynamic force of how the social proof authority, is just going to take shape even bigger and better.
Definitely, but I also just, want to emphasize that while we do know a lot of that stuff, and it'll be really cool sort of, helping be the pioneer of that type of thing, at the same time, we have to really remember we know, because there are people, like yourself. I mean, I learned so much from the older generation as well that really know, the foundations and principles and morals and ethics of all of the technology stuff behind that, of different generations and different types of experiences, because we'll need all of it.
And it kind of goes back to storytelling because, you know, generations ago, hundreds of years ago, they didn't have writing, they didn't have technology. Everybody told stories. That's how, we communicated. And then as, years go by, now we have this technology. But, sometimes the simplest thing, writing a letter, writing an email, is so much more personal that it opens up boundaries. And that's why I love email. And I think that, email started, I think my first email was 20 years ago, but it's coming around full circle. And more people now are embracing email again because they're tired of all the noise that's out there on the internet.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
We're running out of time, but if there's like one last thing that you can give somebody, advice or a thought, if you could share it, that would be wonderful.
Just be open-minded and just learn, because you can learn from everyone no matter where they are in life. You can learn, like, the simplest little thing will end up helping you move forward and progress in your life and business.
I want to thank you again, and I just want to say thanks. Have a wonderful day, and for all those that are listening, please, stop on by uh, Devani's social sites, the Facebook, and her future website that's being built, and give her the opportunity to help you.
Thank you so much. This has been a lot of fun.
All right, see you later.